free to share out that link if you want. So repost it. I tried dragging the slider to do like a nice fade. Didn't quite do what I thought it would.
It never does. It never does.
Well, I think we are live. Yeah.
It looks like it.
See the live chat working on screen too. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I have not done a live stream or any kind of video on the McGlone Code for a while, which is kind of a bummer. I mostly just post on Facebook, post on X, post on Men of Hunger, which I'll tell you about. But I had this idea to do an AMA. Hopefully, all kinds of questions can be asked. Pudge is going to come up with a bunch of questions. Hopefully, some people in the live chat give some input. And if we could figure it out, we could even take live callers later. The live calls would have to be from your browser. It's not like a phone number that you dial into. But anyway, I wanted this to be an AMA, just kind of learn about me. And I invited Pudge here to kind of, I don't know if the term is moderate or host or whatever. You're the guest host, the host guest, but you're going to run the AMA. And I might even ask you a few questions back. We'll see.
Huge fan, dude.
Thanks. On X. Or a huge fan of the idea.
Of the idea.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's cool. And if this format works, maybe I could do it for you sometime if you're down for it. I'd love to get to
man.
Learn about you.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Well, I actually don't know much about Pudge. I know he's a creator. He's on Rumble. He's on Pickaxe. I see him around, but we've never engaged like this before. So I'm going to just hand it off to you to introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are before we jump into this.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you allowing me to come in here and practice my craft. For the AMA, I am a gaming streamer. Mostly, I guess, is what I'm considered. That's what AI reads anyway. So I'm a gaming streamer here on Rumble. I also do interview podcasts. I have Mod Mondays every Monday night. When I have a guest, where I interview exclusively Rumble creators. And it's my opportunity to give creators a platform to talk about who they are, where they came from as creators, how they got started, and most importantly, why they chose Rumble. So, and their thoughts, and one of my favorite things is, I'm gonna stick on this one just a little bit, just because you do work with Rumble, you work for Rumble, so I'm gonna focus on this one because it's super duper important. You can go through it, every single episode of Mod Mondays where I have a guest, an original guest. I've had people on 2 or 3 times sometimes, but every single time when I ask the question, what's their favorite part about coming to this platform, it has been the community. And that is something that I have really dug into as a not really a content. That's not where I dug into it as a content creator. But that's kind of where I've dug into as a contributor to the community, I guess. I've worked really hard to encourage and help build the community, and I'm really, really proud that we are exactly who people see. Those of us that really are putting in the work, and that makes me really happy. So anyways, off that tangent, I also do podcast interviews like Mod Mondays and Practical Pudge on Thursdays, where I interview people like Michael Seifert, Eric July, and other CEOs. I've had Aaron Krapichitz from Red Balloon on the show as well, but that's more focused on things like interviewing CEOs. When I do interview CEOs, brand builders, and things like that, things outside of the realm necessarily of Rumble or even being a creator in general, it's more of how to practically, the practical part of it is gleaning the information from those business leaders, from those entrepreneurs, of how they changed their mindset from a hobby, something that's fun, to something that they can monetize and build wealth from. And also I do design streams on there where I'll make a thumbnail or I make emotes or something like that. Just practical little steps. And I'll even go sometimes and do instructional videos where I go through a lot of the concepts and theories that I think about as a creator, but also as as the director of creator success for Pickaxe. My role is to make creators successful, build them up. And so some of those methods that I use are Gary Vaynerchuk's method of the 90-10, or the not 90-10, it's the $1.80 rule, where you put your 2 cents in on 90 posts every single day. And that's how you organically and strategically grow your social media following. Works on every platform. I've tested it everywhere. There's nowhere it doesn't work. And I like to show that off, and it's a lot of fun for me. On top of that, I do every Wednesday church here on Rumble, where me and Rance from Rance's Gaming Corner, we get on and we have back Porch Theology, and we just discuss different topics, whether it's cultural or maybe a biblical topic that we have been praying about, it's been on our heart or something like that. And I also will restream the previous Sunday service from my local church. It's not local anymore. It was when I lived in Georgia. But my home church, Cross Point City Church in Cartersville, Georgia, they stream their services, and then I restream them every Wednesday here on Rumble, because they don't stream on Rumble. So I wanted to get their content out there and to people, and I just it gives me an opportunity to watch it again. And then we're in the middle of our first and second season for the show on Fridays. You can see him in the chat there, Soundboard Lord and myself. We have a podcast that we do on Friday mornings called GG's in the Chat, where we talk about video games. And I also have a farm.
You have a farm?
I do. I have a farm. It is well, it's extremely undeveloped right now. It's a lot of timber, with a couple of clearings where I have about a half an acre cleared out, where we've got some row crops. I've got some raised beds. We have about 18 chickens and 7 rabbits. So we are literally like on day one of the whole thing. But it's 10 acres. So we've got a lot to work with.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome, actually. I'm a city boy originally, so I now live in the country. But having all this land is not something I'm used to.
It's a little overwhelming if you're used to the city, right?
Yeah, I'm used to concrete jungle, and now everything, it's like ticks and bugs, and you got to mow grass a lot. It's terrible.
Yeah. Oh, man. I love cutting grass. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Well, cool. I mean, I definitely learned a lot about you there. Like, and you've been with Pickaxe now how long? When did you start doing that?
Since October of last year, officially.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
October-ish, November-ish, officially. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say I made a rookie mistake. Okay. It's fine. We're gonna keep the live chat going. I went to JP McGlone, my user account, instead of the McGlone code, which is the channel. So if anybody like what you're seeing here, do find my channel, the McGlone code, and follow that. I will make sure to also upload this video there. I'll download and re-upload it. There you go. But right now, the link we've been sharing out, you're finding me at JP McGlone, which is fine. Yeah. My wife was like, I'm sitting on your the McGlone code page, and I don't see your live yet. I'm like, rookie mistake. But
yeah, I look, dude, that's not a rookie mistake. I've been doing this on Rumble for 3 years. I still do that same thing
every now and then.
It happened twice last week. Not lying at all.
Yeah, I got to check those boxes.
And it's funny, you do.
if I've been streaming more regularly, it remembers where you streamed last.
Yeah, it
I
does.
wouldn't have had this issue, so it's kind of my own fault. But cool, thanks for the intro. And now everybody kind of knows where you're coming from. And I don't know, I could tell just from your headset, your mic, you use a lot of hand gestures. This is not your first rodeo, so.
Yeah, I've been public speaking since I was 16.
Okay.
I was a preacher for a few years. I went around the state of Mississippi as a high school student, preaching to different congregations, guest preaching at different churches. We were in a band all together. We played worship music for different events and things like that. So yeah, like I learned all of this in school. I went to school for psychology. I took a lot of speech classes. So the being on, that's how I think of this, being in the room here in front of the camera, that there's like 100 people out there in the crowd. I'm on stage and I have to function as such. Yeah, I think that a lot of people when they get started doing this, even if they are public speakers, and honestly, I was the same way when I started in front of a camera. I didn't start doing live stuff. I started like recording myself, and I did that for a year before I ever even put anything out. And then I did that for a year before I disappeared from the internet for like 2 years. But anyway, it can be tough. What's that?
I said I was trying to add all those up to figure out your age, but
people often get it wrong. They say that I look younger. Maybe it's the Batman hat. I don't know. Or the comic book memorabilia in the background.
And I think like you got a young face, but then you got the beard, and then you got the confidence. So it's like I'm just gonna say 30 even. That's my guess.
I'm gonna stick with that. I'm a huge fan. No, I'll be 38 this year.
Oh, me too. I'll be 38 in July.
Nice. Guy? I'm a December baby.
Okay, I'm a little older than you then.
Yeah. Everybody is, literally. That's my birthday is December 28th. I mean, there's like 7 people on planet Earth that are younger than me that were born in 1988.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I'm a summer baby, so we've always had the pool parties. For you, it sounds like you've always had we couldn't get you everything you wanted because your birthday is right by Christmas.
That's exactly it. That's it right there. And my birthday presents were always wrapped under the tree, but I couldn't touch them for another 3 days.
That's funny.
And it was always Christmas wrapping. I had my first birthday party the year I got married to Mrs. Pudge.
Mrs. Pudge, that's what we call her.
Yeah, that's what the chat called her.
I was just telling my wife too. I was like, yeah, this PudgeTV. I'm like, he's not even fat. I don't know why he calls himself Pudge.
That's always a funny story, especially like when new people come into my chat and was like, I was expecting this big pudgy dude. But that was actually my Pudgy was my nickname growing up because I was a big baby. It was like my family nickname. I was a big baby. I was like 15 pounds. I was 11 and a half. I was a large child. But when my niece was born and she started talking, she couldn't say my name. My Christian name is Trevor. So she couldn't say Uncle Trevor. She would call me Uncle Tractor. So as adorable as that was, we stuck with Uncle Pudge. And so that was 13, 14 years ago now. She just turned 13 or 14. I think it was 13. And since then, that's what all of my social media handles have ever been, is Uncle Pudge.
Does she still call you Uncle Pudge?
She does still call me Uncle Pudge. I don't know. It's weird when she calls me Trevor. She's called me Uncle Trevor once or twice, and it's very strange.
Yeah, I can imagine. Maybe does she do that to try to like if there's people around that don't know you and she doesn't want to?
Oh no, it's like if she wants to, like if I'm not paying attention. And she's trying to get if I don't hear her, it's the same thing. My wife will use my middle name.
Yeah. It works. It's like a train going.
It does
when you hear your actual full name.
Yeah, it is, man. I appreciate you bringing me on for this, dude. I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
do. I like to be able to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, now here's the part where maybe we can stir up a little trouble. I don't know. Depends
Okay.
on where you take the questions. You could start however you like. Um, do an AMA, and I'm here to answer. And if who was it in the chat? Soundboard Lord, that's your friend, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah. If you
my
want,
my Friday morning co-host
okay.
and
Yeah, I'll definitely
producer
check
of
out your.
GG's in the chat.
That's the podcast. What was it called?
Yeah, it's a channel here on Rumble. So you can find it GG's in the chat, all one word.
Okay.
It's actually GG's on Rumble because I think somebody already had that name, but they don't use it, so it's a little frustrating. So I think it is GG's on Rumble is what
Okay.
the channel name is here on the platform. So yeah, man, I was not super familiar with you outside of my context and pickaxe and what I've seen of your posts on Twitter at first. So why don't you give us a little short bio of who you are professionally, and maybe a little like I'm a husband, I'm a dad kind of
Right.
thing. I got 2 dogs, that kind of stuff. Who is John McGlone?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Christian software engineer, husband, father, landlord. We don't have two dogs. We have two cats, and when we moved
Nice.
here out into the woods, we transferred them. They used to be indoor cats. They are outdoor cats now, and
Good.
they're doing pretty well. So
Yeah.
far, they're still with us, so we're impressed. We didn't want them tearing up the new house, you know.
For sure.
Um, Professionally, I've been doing software development for over 16 years, almost exclusively iOS professionally, but for side projects and stuff, I've touched the whole stack. I can do database, backend,
Okay.
web stuff. I can kind of whip it together, which honestly, I never honed in those skills for 16 years. Like I was always just kind of a get it done kind of coder. But now with
Hmm.
AI, since I know the underlying concepts, I'm able to use Cursor to build entire websites in no time. And I don't mean
That's
in the
crazy.
vibe coding kind of way. I mean like I can architect it and I can talk to it like a junior developer and be like, I know what you need to do. I'm just not the guy to do it because I
Yeah.
do iOS, not uh, JavaScript.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and quick plug, yes, menofhunger.com is kind of my side passion project. It is an alternative. I wouldn't even say it's an alternative to X. I would say it's a place that men can dip away from X and have serious conversation with each other. It's a
Mm,
men's only social media platform, and the whole thing was coded in like 100 days on nights and
that's
weekends.
crazy.
So not even like full time. This is super part time. Whipped it together using Cursor, and it's working really well. We don't have a huge, sound like Trump. We don't have a large user base yet. It's just a bunch of friends right now, but soon I hope to kind of put it out there and get more people to join. So if anybody listening to this wants to check it out, menofhunger.com.
Yeah, it's got a beautiful interface. I recently joined after excuse me, after you and I connected about doing this. And it's a beautiful interface, very smooth, super duper clean. I like I like the UI. I like the engagement on there. It's a good little platform for exactly what you're talking about. And then it's just, even if it's just a place where you want to occasionally go and maybe think tank or
Mhm.
say something that you wouldn't say in public, in social media terms.
Yeah, it has different tiers. So like you have to be verified to post. But when you post, you can
Mhm.
post publicly so that the world can read it. But you can also post in a way where only other verified people can read it, which are going to be men, unless we have some women trying to infiltrate. Um,
Right.
and then if you're a premium member, you can even post in a way where only other premium members can see. So you could be as exclusive or as public as you want.
Now, was that something that was difficult to implement when you were working with your agent to set up the site?
No, like like I said, like I can architect it. So I pretty much wrote the specs and was able to
Yeah.
be very, very detailed. And then the
Mhm.
gaps that it had to fill in were pretty small compared to somebody who doesn't know any coding. Somebody who doesn't know coding, they're kind
Right.
of like, hey, build me a men's only social media site, make no mistakes.
Right. Well, exactly. I was literally doing that last night. I'm actually working on one myself.
Men's only
And
social media site.
no, an app.
Cool.
I'm working inside Claude on top of Grok to just kind of bounce ideas off and get different things. What I love about Claude is that it does give you that like vibe coded mock-up. And it's interactive, and so you can kind of see how it's going to work as you're playing along with it. So I can't even imagine if I actually knew what it was talking about when it said the things as it responds to me. I have no clue what it's talking about. There's so many different like acronyms and
Oh
just
yeah.
strings of letters and things that I have no clue. But that's the great thing about AI is I don't have to know how to draw. I don't have to understand any of this. I just have to know what I want and then how to articulate that better.
hmm Yeah, I think they're calling them prompt engineers. So there
Yep,
are some people who are
that's
very
right.
good at prompting AI, and I
Yeah.
find it's actually I wish we had that term before AI because
Mm,
I've worked with good product managers and bad product managers, and the good product managers know how to prompt their engineers. you know,
yeah.
so it's a
Yeah.
skill that was already needed.
So, do you think that AI has exacerbated that process of our learning curve to get better at that?
If you're asking, do I think it's going to like curb, like if it's going to hurt people, like their
No,
ability?
no. I think what I'm asking is, do you think that AI has accelerated the rate at which we are learning how to prompt better and
Oh,
ask
learning
better
how to prompt better.
questions?
Yes and no. I say
Mm,
yes because there's obviously a lot of benefit to being able to prompt the AI well.
mm,
But I'll also say you don't have to prompt it very well for it to understand you.
sure.
I've ran little experiments where I'm having a conversation with somebody at work, and I thought I've asked my question as clearly as I could, and
Mhm,
it there's this miscommunication. So I'll just throw it into ChatGPT and I'll say, "Can you ask this better?" The fact that it gave me a better way to ask my question proves that it knew what I
mhm.
meant. Better than the
Right,
humans that I was talking to were.
right.
I actually wonder if it's a double-edged sword where on one
Mm,
hand, yes, those who prompt best will work with AI the fastest, but it might actually hurt your ability to prompt people well. Because why would I? If I could just go to ChatGPT and
mm,
get the answer the first time, I can just
mm.
sidestep you altogether.
Yeah. It's an interesting point. What are your overall thoughts on AI in general? I mean, there's tons of nuances and
Oh yeah.
billions of specifics, but the big idea is is there are two schools of thought, right? AI is going to save us, or AI is going to kill us. Where do you sit on the spectrum?
Um, AI is a very powerful tool, and wicked people are going to use it for wickedness, and hopefully good people will use it for good. I do worry when I see this debate. I know a lot of Christians that think that Christians can't use AI, or maybe they
Mm,
can for very basic things, for coding and stuff. But
sure.
you shouldn't bounce ideas off of AI. You're basically talking to demons or something like that. And just like any other technology, like the internet, right? For the
Yeah.
longest time, it was like, well, you need to go to church. And by all means, you have to go to church. You have to be with your people. You have to be with uh,
Yes.
under the care of some elders, right? By all means.
Yes.
Um, but to the extent that everybody is engaging with the internet, I think Christians have kind of dropped the ball and they're like, oh, the internet, it's such a godless place on one hand, and it's true. But on the other hand,
Right.
they're basically saying, don't bring religion to the internet. Um,
It's
I
true.
think the internet's Christless because a lot of Christians aren't ministering there, if that makes sense.
That's right. Because we're not evangelizing.
Yeah. Yeah. So same thing with AI. Like, I think it's Andrew. I don't want to misquote or anything, but the sense I get from Andrew Torba, who has Gab.com, is
Mhm.
like, yeah, Christians need to, if we don't have our own like AI agents, our own servers doing the training and stuff, then it's going to be used in a way that's totally anti-Christian. The only chance we have for it to be used in good ways is if Christians actually use it. And I agree with that.
That's right. That's right, because AI can only operate off of the information that is available. And if we are so reclusive that we won't even dare to put our information on the internet, then much less in a great amount, then why would we expect that the information gatherer has anything except for godlessness?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I do see people misusing it in the Christian direction too. They have like apps coming
Of
out where you
course.
can talk to Jesus or pray
Yeah.
Jesus to pray for you, like AI Jesus. I'm against that,
Yeah.
obviously. I think
Yeah.
that's
Are
wicked.
you concerned with AI disrupting your sector specifically?
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like every day there's some other company firing 25% of their work staff
Yeah.
because AI is replacing it. So, um, but I've been positioning myself like Rumble's been really good. This I can say, like using AI and stuff to code. Um,
Mhm.
my side projects, I'm using AI, so I'm pretty positioned to say like, yeah, I know how to use all these new tools. And I'm seeing a lot of businesses, they're saying they won't even hire somebody if they don't have some agentic experience.
Yep.
Uh, I'm just surprised at how quick it took over the industry. I'll be honest,
It is fast.
I didn't think this technology was actually possible to the degree that it already is out, and especially
Yeah.
not in my lifetime. And then, but here it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It is crazy, and what's even scarier is it'll quadruple twice as fast
Oh yeah, yeah,
because, the technology, uh, advances faster the more advanced it gets, right?
that seems to be the trend. Yeah.
Yep, yep. So a few things that I did want to talk to you about. You mentioned you're a Christian, and I would love to get your thoughts on. I've been getting a lot of content in my feeds recently about Christian nationalism.
Hmm.
I'd love to get some of your thoughts on that. Selfishly, to educate myself, but I'd also love to know what your position is on it, and tell me what Christian nationalism is from your perspective.
Yeah, I'm going to borrow a lot of this framing from a pastor, Doug Wilson. I don't know if you're familiar
Okay,
with him at all.
I know the name. I can't see his
Um,
face, but I know that name.
but he kind of breaks it down, and I think this makes the most sense. Either our nation is going to be, well, let's start with our laws. Our laws, all laws, are grounded in some morality, right? Because laws
Yes,
at their foundation are what you ought to do, and then also if you don't do it, you get punished, or if you do the wrong thing, you get punished. What should
correct.
that punishment be? These are all moral questions, and either our laws are going to be uh, rooted in Christianity, or it's going to be rooted in something else. As a Christian, I want it to be Christian morals.
Right.
Um, the nationalism part, I really like the way he puts it. He says there's really only three broad options. Uh, you're either in nations, in tribes, or you're a globalist. So there's nationalism, tribalism,
Hmm.
or globalism. And as a Christian and as an American, I don't want Christian tribalism. Like I don't want like little nomadic tribes running all
Yep.
around our otherwise wonderful country, and I certainly don't want globalism. Um,
Right.
so
Right.
I want nations. So I want a world full of Christian nations. I can't
Hmm.
make Japan Christian any more than I can make America Christian, really. But I'm an American, so I'm going to do what I can to push Christian values here.
Would you say to people that find or would accuse Christian nationalism of being harmful to America
To America?
or nationalism in general. I will see, and maybe it's just rage bait, but I still see it in my feed where people are equating nationalists to fascists and Nazis and evil people that are trying to tear down our democracy.
Yeah. I mean, look, maybe on some technical detail, I don't fully know what a nationalist is, but for
Sure.
myself, like I want Russians to put Russia first. I
Yes.
want Japanese to put Japan first, and I want Americans to put America first. And then that way, when we negotiate from a position where we know each party is putting their own people first. And
Mhm.
wherever we land, there's this understanding that we found something that's good enough for both of us, right? Like if we make some trade deal with Russia, it would be strange if we were like putting the Russian people in front of our own, and it would be strange if they were putting us, ahead of theirs. I think that's a strange thing that people want. They're like, no, you should put all the other countries, equal with you, or even take a hit for their sake, and they call that
Mm,
Christian. But I
mm.
don't see it. Your question was though that Christian nationalism would hurt America. Well, I think it depends on what you think America is. If you think America
Mhm.
is this libertarian country where you could walk around naked, cut off your kids' genitals, and do all that stuff, and it's all protected under the First Amendment, then yes, it's going to hurt that America, right? But if
Yes.
but if you think America is not that, because for the first uh, 200 years, we had blasphemy laws, we had obscenity laws, we had laws
Yep.
against adultery. Even with divorce, we had like it could be somebody's fault. Now we have no fault divorce.
Mhm.
That's the America that I think Christian nationalism can restore.
So that lines up with what I observe the the accusers believe in. The people that are saying that Christian nationalism as a whole, but Christian nationalism specifically, these accusers are saying that that is bad for America because of the things that you just talked about. Um, Blasphemy laws, no fault divorce, that's a big one that these people will contend with because, well, they're feminists.
Right. Well, don't
And
get me started on that.
that's hey, it's a full open casket here, John. You got to open up about all of it. So I won't ask you your opinion about the 19th Amendment, but what I
Repeat it.
will ask you about is um what you think is the role, the order of roles in the genders, in the sexes, specifically in marriage, and why this matters to this whole like feminist thing is because we all the time will get pushback when having conversations like this, as though we're having a conversation of degree of value
Right.
and instead of duty. So what are your thoughts here on the order of the roles in marriage?
Well, I'll even just start in the country. Like, I think the
Mhm.
foundation of civilization is the family, not the individual. Right?
Yes,
And the family
absolutely.
is a much more rigid structure. I think I've seen an illustration once where they took a bunch of like grains of sand. And if you ever put your hand in sand, I mean, you can make sand whatever you want, right? Think of that as like a
Mhm.
bunch of individuals. And if you're the people running this country, you can move and mix and make individuals into whatever shape you like.
Yep.
But if you have these little units of family where it's like the husband, the wife, and a few children, there are these rigid structures, and they're a lot harder to manipulate and move around because
Mhm.
they're actually their own little nations, and they have relationships with the other nations around them, and they
Yep.
form alliances. And if the governor comes in and says we want to do something different, they kind of linked together, and they say, no way, we're not going to do that,
Yeah.
and so there's like the family structure is rigid, but then the church, which is really a structure of many families, is rigid,
Mm-hmm.
and you work your way up. And I think in order to have a family, you have to have the husband, the wife, some children, hopefully, right?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, my kid was crying. Um, there's some sort of sweet irony in that, but I think the feminist, what they're doing is, to be an individual. Like a lot of these feminist women, they want to just be like men. They want to go out there and run businesses and do
Right.
all the things men do, which I can sympathize with. I get it, but they're
Sure.
doing it by forsaking the family, which actually breaks down what should be the fundamental unit of our country, and it's destroying it.
Right. Right.
In marriage, you asked about the roles. I think biblically it's clear: the husband is the head of the home, the wife is the helpmate, and the purpose of marriage, the purpose of man, is to glorify God, and our marriages should do the same. But secondarily, is to make children. And it feels like today,
Right.
if you say that, you will anger a lot of people.
Yes, you will. You absolutely will. There has to be a hierarchy. And again, this is not a conversation of intrinsic value, but
No.
rather a conversation about optimal efficiency. And there's only one way to put a puzzle together. You can't do it any other way. And if you try to force it, it's not the same picture. It's incomplete, and it destroys what has been created. So and you've seen, in my opinion, would love to kind of get your thoughts on the past 60 years of how this has affected us as a country, how we've destroyed the family unit as a like, that's the purpose. That has been the target. The family, the nuclear family has been purposely destroyed. And it's been very, very detrimental to the nation, in my opinion.
Yeah. So what's the question exactly? Try my best to answer.
Just in kind of your overarching thoughts on how those feminist um mentalities and mindsets have contributed to the degradation of our understanding of these orders.
Yeah. I'll say it like this. I think there's a guy, I don't know if you've listened to Andrew Wilson at all. He's got this
I
show
do.
called The Crucible. I don't
Yes.
agree with him actually, I disagree with him on a lot of things, but he's a great debater
Me too.
still. He's effective.
I can definitely give him that. He is a very good debater, but yeah,
Him and his wife Rachel use is
Mhm.
that feminism at its core is the rejection of patriarchy. And it's
Yes.
tempting to say, well, that's modern feminism, because now they hold signs that say "smash the patriarchy," and it's like, no, now they're just more
Mhm.
honest about it. I think
Right.
even in the first wave feminism, where they're just like, hey, we just want to leave the home and have a job like you, just be equal. It's like, well, yeah,
Mhm.
and in doing that, you are subverting male headship in the house. No, my husband's okay with it. Okay, maybe, but what if he's not okay with it? Well,
Right.
we would talk about it. It's like
You're right. He would have to change his mind.
he would have to change his mind, basically,
Right.
And it's like, okay, so even when they weren't like in your face, ready to bite your head off kind of feminists, I think they were
Mhm.
still anti-patriarchy. And I think what
Yeah.
that's done over the years is it's weakened our men. In the
Yes.
Old Testament, Pharaoh orders to kill all the boys, right? Because he doesn't
Mhm.
want that uh, competition. He doesn't want one of them to rise up and kill him when he's old. I think
Yep.
that spirit lives on today. That there's a softening of our men, and they're not good leaders. We don't let them lead in the house, even if
Mhm.
imperfectly, but that's where you're going to get the practice.
That's right.
We in businesses and in church, I would even say there's a lot of church functions even where there are women leaders put in positions
Mhm.
that it might be better actually if you put a man in that position, if for no other reason than to build up one more man in this country, because God knows we need that. You know,
Yep. Yep.
um, you play video games. So in
I
RPG
do.
games, you're going to go do a raid in like World of Warcraft or something. You want the best in slot weapon. You don't want the second best in slot. And even if
Right.
some woman is like really good, a really good leader, I'm not taking that away from her. She might be a very good leader.
Sure.
What you don't want to do is soften all the men such that your best in slot is a woman. If your best in slot is a woman, you have weak men in your country. And if you have weak men in your country,
Right.
your
That's
country is going
not to
to
say you have weak women
right.
and that women aren't strong. That's just to say if your strongest man is still weaker than a woman, you have weak men.
Yes.
And that's very, very bad for a society.
I think it's bad for a society, but in the short term, it's good for the people at the top of society because they don't have to
Oh, yeah.
worry about you checking them. You know, what are you
Mhm.
going to do about it? Kind of
Right.
thing.
Yep.
And,
That's absolutely right.
you know, going back to the story in Genesis, I guess Exodus, of like when Moses was spared, I think it took a
Mhm.
strong woman to not to rescue
Mm.
that man. You see what I'm
I
saying?
think that's
And
an important point that
yeah,
people really, really miss all over the Bible is how God points out how strong these women had to be, stronger than most of the men in their situations.
yeah, yeah, but not strong in a way where she took, you know, Moses's position, but she, you know,
Correct.
Moses was supposed to be killed. So the analogy, I guess, is in the household. Don't don't subvert your man. Don't subvert your man. That's my advice to women. You know,
Yeah,
do what you can to build him up. He's not going to be right all the time, and you know what? If you were the head of the house, you're not going to be right all the time either.
that's right.
But by God's grace, if you work with him, you could help him be right more often. And if it takes 40 years of marriage and he goes from being right 50% of the time to 55% of the time, that's still wonderful, you know?
That's right. You were a good wife, and that's progress, and that's huge. Does you're married, John? Does your wife ever contend with you on some of these beliefs? Because especially when it comes to the what people might call the misogynistic or anti-feminist beliefs that the world would tell her are oppressive to her. Does she ever kind of push back on you on any of those?
It's funny, we just met. But I'll say it like, no, I'll say it like this. My wife and I have a lot of alignment, especially like on paper, right? Like if we
Mm,
speak what we believe, we are equally yoked. I think there's
yeah,
always a struggle, right? Like
yeah,
I would be lying if I said if I never struggled with being harsh with my wife. You know, I'd be a
mhm.
liar. And I'd be
That's
lying
right.
to you if I said she never struggled the other way. But
Right.
the pressures from outside are pretty immense. Yeah, some
Yeah.
of it's extended family. We've had people just randomly from the internet didn't like something I say. They'll find out where she works. That kind of like weird little things like that, trying to just
Wow.
drive wedges.
That's
Um,
crazy.
and honestly, in those kind of situations, we actually do the best. Uh, there's
Mm,
we seem to be able to get on that unified front when there's some external problem. You know, it's
right.
usually and you're married. The internal problems are harder to deal with than
Right.
the
Yeah.
external
You didn't
ones.
change the toilet paper, and that's a 3-hour argument, but somebody says something defamatory on Twitter, and you guys are just, Captain Planet
Yeah, or
stinking it up.
you know, they're trying to drive a wedge between us or whatever, and it's like, no, you're not going to do
Hmm.
that.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. My wife
So
is exactly the same way.
okay, yeah. So I think that answers the question. The answer is like on paper, I think we're very equally yoked. You know, we might have
Yeah.
some disagreements here or there, but in practice, we struggle like any. Well, I don't want to say like any marriage, because the goal is to not, right? The goal is to get to a point where we're barely struggling.
Well, I think that I think marriage is a lot like farming. If you want to do it well, if you want a bountiful harvest, you got to
Mhm.
do a lot of digging, you got to do a lot of harvesting, you got to do a lot of planting. It's work forever.
Yeah.
And that's if you want a bountiful harvest. If you just want pretty grass, then just cut your grass.
Yeah.
If you want to just coast through life being married, I don't guess there's anything wrong with that. But why would you not want to, advance and excel and thrive and have a bountiful harvest in your marriage? That's just me.
Yeah. Aim high
That's
and trust
just me.
God
How long?
to get you there.
That's exactly. Well, that's it. How long have you been working at Rumble, John?
Ooh. So I started work. I was at a different company first called Callin, and Rumble
Right.
purchased
Okay. So
Callin.
that's right. Okay. When that happened, you came
I
over.
forget. They kind of blur together. So you could look it up. Whenever that purchase was, is when I started working at Rumble. And I've been
Okay,
there
so that
since.
was mid 2023 because that
think
happened
so.
right after I started streaming here on Rumble.
Okay.
So that gives me a little bit of a landmark there. So, okay. All right. And what would you say is one of your, I don't want to say favorite, what has changed most about the platform you were working with, Callin, and how it's advanced since the acquisition
Yeah.
into studio?
Yeah, I think I can answer this, and I don't want to get too much into Rumble stuff because I don't want to say something wrong or whatever. But
Course.
Callin, they shut down Callin. It was like a social podcasting app. People could literally call in, hence the name, like a
Yeah.
radio show, and there were a bunch of listeners. It was a lot like Twitter Spaces or X Spaces.
Okay.
I liked it better. I thought the tooling was way better,
Yeah.
but obviously the community was smaller because we weren't Twitter. Rumble Studio, the big difference between Callin and Rumble Studio is that Callin was its own platform. You had to be on Callin in order to listen and then eventually watch everything. Rumble Studio is all of that, plus you could stream out to all the platforms. Right now, I don't know if I've only sent out the Rumble link, but I'm technically on Rumble right now, on YouTube. Supposedly I'm on X. I got to go check Facebook and Locals. So being able to
Twitch.
and Twitch, being able to broadcast that to all of the platforms at once, I think is the biggest improvement. Is that the question you were asking though, about the product or about my skills?
About the product?
Okay.
Yeah, about the product. Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, I got a hot potato for you, John.
Try me.
You aren't always the most politically correct person on Twitter.
Not always. No.
I've noticed.
I try really hard to be. No, I'm kidding. I'll try.
I do. I will say, I noticed that you do try to pull ideas out of people. What are you trying to get at? What are you talking about? Distill to me the idea it is that you're trying to convey with whatever it is that you're talking about. I saw you interact with somebody today. I think it was today, talking about the consciousness of AI.
Oh, yeah.
That was interesting. But I would also like to get your thoughts on abortion and what you think that as Christians, how do we operate on a state level as a government? How do we vote? For a really long time, I'm not like this anymore, but for a really long time, I was pro-choice because I don't believe in in killing a baby. It's wrong. I believe that your choice to kill a baby is wrong. It's murder, and it's a baby from conception. I believe that. I still believe that part. What I don't believe anymore is that it's not my job to make a law. It's not the government's job to tell us that it's not okay. It's hard for me to even say that sentence anymore because it sounds so stupid. But I realized that years ago how stupid that sounded. So, would love to get your thoughts on where we sit in America specifically on the topic of abortion, and what do you think we need to make happen to stop it in America?
Yeah, and I'll say I wouldn't use the word stupid because not because I agree with the people who are pro-choice and calling themselves Christian,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they've allowed their framing to be twisted. I think
Mm,
since we have contraceptives, since we have, well, mostly just contraceptives, since we have that, I think
right.
a lot of people allow themselves to see abortion as an undo button. It's like,
Yeah.
oops, there wasn't supposed to be a baby there, and
Mm,
if I did everything right, there wasn't going to be a baby there. So if I just undo it, it's as if the baby was never there to begin with. And if you
yeah.
allow yourself to think that way, then it doesn't feel as bad. It doesn't seem as bad. You're just like, I killed 2 cells. I killed 8 cells, whatever number it was at by the
Mm,
time I got to it, right? That's what it
yeah.
sounds like. But I think it's just fundamentally wrong. The framing that I would use is that yes, once those cells join together, you have that unique person. To use a video
That's
game
right.
analogy,
That's right.
you have the seed. It's like I'm so happy I can use these analogies with you. You're a gamer. You played Minecraft.
Yes, I hate that game, but yes,
You hate it, but you understand
I
how
hate it.
the procedural generation goes.
I do. I
And
do.
when you type in if you want to join a world that looks exactly like someone else's world, they can give you like this long seed number. And if you put
Yeah.
that same number, series of numbers and letters in, you get the exact same procedurally generated world that they get. And I
Yes.
always say like it's like hitting that go button, and there's a loading screen, right? And that's what
Mhm.
you see. You see a loading screen. So what we
Mhm.
interface with is you see a pregnant woman's belly. And
Right.
but if you were able to take that loading screen away, you would see all the trees coming in, all the dirt coming in. Like you would see the world generating. I get that you
Yeah.
can't run around in it yet, right? It's not ready for that. And with a baby, you can't like change its diaper yet. But as
Right.
far as I'm concerned, that is the Minecraft world generating for you. And that is the
Mhm.
baby generating for you. I don't see at all now. I don't know if this was said earlier. I was an atheist throughout my entire 20s. So I used to make
Okay.
all of the pro choice arguments. I was very pro choice. I don't even like that phrase. I was very pro abortion. I think that's the
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
honest uh, term. And I
Mhm.
used to say the Control Z thing. I used to say that, well, it's not technically a baby till it's born, all
Mm.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But as a Christian now, and knowing, and now I'm a Christian nationalist, I think we should have laws against abortion, let's just say.
Mhm.
I think we
Mhm.
have to say that abortion is murder, period.
Yeah.
And what that means is if a mom knowingly kills her baby, she is a murderer. If a doctor knowingly kills her baby, he is a murderer. If a
Yep.
husband purposely kills the baby or compels her to kill a baby, he's at least an accomplice to murder, if not a murderer himself.
Yep.
And I
Absolutely.
think the common retort from the left is, well, if you do that, it's just going to make it that there's going to be like unsafe abortions because they're going to use wire hangers in alleys. And I'm like, good. I want murders to be unsafe. Like I
That's
want
right. We should have a reason for them to not want to do it. They don't want to put a hanger in their belly. Good. That's the right
good.
answer.
Yeah, maybe the incentive structure will be, is there another way? And
Right.
I'm actually really strict on this. I'm not even for I'm not saying that adoption's great. Adoption is a
Sure.
restorative function when a child loses his mother, father, or both. You want to restore, and you'll never that kid will never get his mother and father back, but you want to get something close to that, and hopefully a godly family. That
Right.
said, I don't think we should be supporting mothers abandoning their children. Like, we tell these mothers, oh, if you don't kill him, we'll just purchase him from you. You know, I don't think that's better either. I think
I don't
you're a
either.
murderer if you kill your baby. You are guilty of some other crime. I don't know, neglect, abandonment, if you just put them up for adoption. Like, to me, your baby should not be put up for adoption unless you're dead or in jail or something. Like, you can't take care of it.
Yeah, right. Unless you physically cannot tend to the livelihood of your child.
Yeah. And people are like, well, but some people, they're so poor. If they didn't have a job, they couldn't take care of the child. I say, okay, in the past, how did we deal with this? You had the church. You had families in the church. I would happily, I would feel bad taking a baby away from its mother, but I would happily house a mother and her baby until they're back on their feet. I would much rather do that.
Right. Yeah. Or even, and we've done this before. We temporarily housed just the two kids so that mom could get stuff in order for a few weeks. She got settled in a new spot, and they went back and stayed with her.
Okay. Was this through your church?
No, this was we actually have some friends that ironically they have an adoption agency where they will, instead of like the client paying every single adoption place to get information or seen or however the process works, what my friends do is they're consultants basically that will talk to those agencies and then find the best fit for the parent. So anywho, they were just at Walmart one day, and they had this situation where there was going to be some homeless babies for a little while, and they called us, and I was sitting in my truck after I'd gotten off of work, and and my wife was like, so I'm bringing a couple babies home. She said first, I think it was, are you sitting down? And then I knew it was important. So,
yeah.
But that was a phenomenal experience. The adoption agency world, it is very, very, what I have heard is that it's very difficult to go through. It's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
But what I see is when I see the parents of adopted children, I often will think to myself, and maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should, I don't know. But I think to myself, they gave you a kid?
Oh, you're talking about the adopted parents?
The parents.
Or the parent. Okay.
I see the adopted, the adopter, the parents doing the adopting, and I'm like, they gave you a kid? Really? So it's a very strange world. The entire adoption ring, and then there's all kinds. I'm in Mississippi right now.
Okay.
This happened a few years ago when I lived in Georgia.
Okay.
But that on top of, like, child trafficking, human trafficking that tries to guise itself as altruism inside, adoption agencies and things like that. There's a lot of smoke inside all of that. So it's not something I ever dip my toes into.
In Virginia, they make it really challenging. We have a couple, a friend couple. What do you call that?
Mm-hmm.
A throuple? I don't know. We have these friends. And they're married and they want to adopt. And as Christians, they don't want to lie, obviously, on any of the adoption papers. In Virginia, you have to agree to indefinitely never spank the children that you adopt.
Okay.
So
is that legal?
Yeah, well, I mean, they won't adopt the child to you. It's their discretion.
Sounds like extortion.
Yeah. Now legally they can't enforce it. It's kind of weird. Like they don't have to release the child unless you agree. But once
Right.
you foster the kid and you get through the whole fostering process and then they fully sign custody over, then
Mhm.
technically you can, uh, if you spank, they have no way to
Right.
enforce it because they don't have any
Right.
guardianship over the
It's
kid
kind of a
anymore.
scare tactic.
But if you're a Christian and you're like, well, I don't want to sign something that's a lie. I don't want to say I would never spank them knowing that I might. It really kind of creates this adoption thing where a lot of these kids are much
Mm.
more easily going to non-Christian parents who would promise to never spank them.
Yep. That's
So
true.
it's
That's
it's
true.
very
I
interesting.
would I would just not call it spanking when I do it. I would whip, switch, paddle, just whatever tool you're using. I'm gonna give you a shoe-in,
Yeah,
kiddo.
I'm sure I haven't read the documents. I'm sure they handled all that. You will not physically hit the child with anything, your hand or otherwise. How these legal papers can go. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I just hear that's
absolutely.
a real struggle for Christians in Virginia and some other states.
Is that and that's where you're at, is in Virginia?
Yeah, I'm in Virginia. And we've talked
Okay.
about adopting, in addition to having kids, also
Yeah.
adopting. It's crazy that you have to spend like tens of thousands of dollars to adopt
Yeah.
a child.
When there are so many children in the mark I won't say it that way. In in the world
Yep.
that need adopting, it costs no less in some of the cheaper areas than like 20 grand just to see the kid.
Yeah.
Much less, everything you have to do, afterwards, and then you're locked in. Um Oh man, that's just
It's a
so
heavy topic.
crazy.
Yeah.
Say that again?
It's a heavy topic for like people who are
Mhm.
trying, like our friends are having trouble having kids of their own. So they really want
Yeah.
to adopt and they're having trouble adopting and in a large part because they're Christian. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We ran into many couples that, that was kind of their reason for being, close to our friends, is that they couldn't get pregnant.
mm,
Or our friends actually, she won't mind me telling this because she talks about it publicly, but she was, I'll try to be gentle. She was born without the tools necessary to carry a child. So her whole life, she grew up knowing she would never be able to bear a child.
yeah.
She has 3 adopted children now, and she has her agency, and God is just flourishing through her and her husband, and it's a Christian agency too. So they
Cool.
actually they actually have very strict rules on who they will work with.
See,
I actually
that's what we need more of. I think when government is
Mhm.
involved and the strict rules are non-Christian,
Yeah,
then it's not a Christian state. But in this case, I don't know
absolutely.
if government's involved, but at least it sounds like they're not getting in her way in this
I
situation.
don't think so. I think
That's
that
great.
in Georgia,
Oh,
that
Georgia.
the adoption process is definitely not as strict as what it sounds like in Virginia.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Definitely not.
Hmm.
Um So, John, what do you think? I won't hold you for too much longer. But what do you think about the idea that our country should be influenced by these Christian um theories, the Christian characteristics? What do you think that we need to be a non-religious country, or do you think we function better as a Christian nation?
Um, this is not an original idea either, but I don't believe that there is such thing as non-religion. I think that's a myth. Um,
Okay.
there's always going to be some sort of moral framework. And even the
Mm-hmm.
belief that all religions should coexist is a moral claim. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a moral claim that's
It is.
contradictory to Christianity and Islam and
Right.
Orthodox Judaism. Like if like the strict Jews don't agree with that either, you know.
That's absolutely right.
So I think our country has been captured by this kind of pagan, coexist. You've seen the bumper stickers, right, with all the different
Yeah.
religious logos,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it frames itself as a non-religion, but it is a religion.
That's
And
right.
I think the kind of religion it is it's trying to find all the things that people can agree on, or at least agree on enough. And
Mm-hmm.
even if they don't agree on it, can they like kind of live with each other? And then
Right.
they say, well, then that's the truth. I don't think that works. The point I always make is like, if you look in the Middle East, you have Christians, you have Jews, you have Muslims, and they are fighting each other. They're killing each other.
Yep.
So, and they have their own nations. So what did you think was going to happen when you put them all in like Toronto?
Right. Yeah.
Like, they're just going to stop fighting? No, they're going to
No.
bring their drama to every Western country that they go to. The UK is swarming with Muslims right now. The number
Yep.
one boy's name, I think 2 years in a row now, is new boy's name,
Muhammad.
Muhammad. These
Yep.
are not Christian countries, not for much longer. Well,
That's right.
my theory is not that Islam's going to take over. I mean, that's the fear, right? Oh, Islam's gonna... No, I think what's going to happen is they're going to cross a certain threshold, and there's going to be a Crusades 2.0 is what I think is going to happen. And you're kind of seeing the workings of that right now with Tommy Robinson going out there and rallying all these people saying, we're not going to do this. I think there's going to be a big, and they're going to call it a civil war, which makes no sense, right? So
right. Right, because they're already being invaded.
Right. Imagine like going back in time and telling King George of all people, like, oh, there's going to be a big civil war in the UK in the year 2030. Oh, that's terrible. It's like, yeah, it's going to be all these like white British Christians versus these Muslims.
Right. From the Middle East.
That's self-defense, I think. But
that's absolutely right. Self-defense. And none of these are nationals. None of these people were born here. They don't love the country. In fact, they hate it. They want it burnt down. They want to take over. They want socialism, which will eventually become communism, which will turn into the third world that they came from. It's I heard a good.
The Muslims want Sharia.
Oh yeah,
but they'll take whatever they can to like. To me, it's like, if I want your house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, or not, maybe not your house. I guess all I'm saying is they're fine if the UK burns down as long as they get it afterwards.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's right. They're willing to light the match that burns it down if it understands that they get to take over afterwards. That's right.
Right. Yeah. But I don't think it'll happen. I mean, I don't think it'll happen. I think what will happen is going to be terrible on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think like, Rome fell, and then, there's still a remnant of Rome in the West. All of Western culture is technically Rome, if you think about it.
Right.
It's like Rome with Christianity.
Yeah.
If the UK falls or America falls, there's going to be a remnant. They're gonna find somewhere. Maybe it's up in a mountain. Who knows? But they're gonna build a thriving civilization because these are the people who come from a lineage that know how to do that. And I honestly, like, I can't see the Muslims taking the UK and the UK lasting very long. So like, it would just be taken back,
Right. Yeah. All of the Europeans will regroup somewhere in, the Norwegian area, and then they'll come back in full force and take it back. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it won't be hard. Because
even if they're outnumbered.
Right, exactly. Because the type of people, these destructive types of people that just go in and they want to take over and burn things down and own it and turn it into the third world that they came from.
Right.
They only progress past a certain point. They don't like go up. You see workers in these third world areas and working around heavy machinery, wearing no safety equipment, and things are tied and duct taped together, and there's no advancement past a certain point. And it's not a very high bar to get through.
I've heard that a lot of like missionaries, they'll go to Africa or some other, I know this isn't Muslim countries, although there are a lot of Muslims in Africa.
There are.
They'll help them build like wells.
Mhm.
They'll dig wells for them so that they have water that they can drink. And what happens is they do it, they teach them how to do it, they show them how to maintain it, they leave, and then the wells are like covered in dirt and filled in within a few years. And it's like you have to go back out and do it again. So there's not, I think it's been a failed experiment, this idea that we keep going to all these countries trying to show them how to make their country into new America. I think we just need to leave them alone. And if they have something of value, yes, we could trade with them. We can share with them. We can do that kind of stuff. I'm not saying to take over every country and make it, white people. But I also think it's been a waste of time trying to help these countries where they won't help themselves. I know Trump got into a lot of trouble for that. I think he called them shithole countries.
He was right. So would you consider yourself an isolationist?
I don't know, like, technically what all goes into that. I'm not like, I don't think we should be like North Korea.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We should know what's going on, but we shouldn't be spending $89 quadrillion a year on not America.
Yeah. And isolationist just strikes me as one of those it sounds like a pejorative for like, I don't know if there's anybody that's truly an isolationist.
I agree with that.
I think every country has the right to decide who it's going to associate with and who it's not. And if America's got a good thing going and it's like, yeah, well, we'll associate with India, but only because we want their rare jewels and stuff, but we're not going to associate with them in other ways. If we can't make that decision, then we're not in control of our own destiny. We're not a sovereign country. And it's funny because as far as I've always been taught, America is, if there's any country out there that's sovereign, that's truly sovereign, it is America, right?
I agree.
But it seems like there's so many things, and this is why I love Trump. He comes in and he's like, wait, we don't have to be part of the, what is that called? The Paris Accord or whatever?
The Green New Deal, is that what it is?
Well, the Green New Deal was here, the AOC thing. But like, there's all the, like NATO, like we disproportionately carry NATO, and it's just like, well, that's not a good deal for us, so we'll just leave. And people have it in their mind that like you can't do that, and it's like, well, no, if you're a sovereign nation, you can.
Right?
Yeah, there might be consequences.
Right? Oh, it's mean. Oh, they need to eat. Well, they need to work.
Yes. That's a difficult concept.
Yeah, I know, right? How crazy.
I think literally, what is I don't know where it is, but the passage is like, if let he who will not eat, if let he who will not work not eat, or something like that.
You're ringing a bell there, for sure. But I mean, yeah, it's basic meritocracy. If you're not gonna work, then you're not gonna eat. It's the whole, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man a fish, feed him forever, whatever that one is, too. And we have escalated this like feminization of America all the way to the entire world. Like, oh, we just got to be nice to everybody, and everything that we work for goes out to everybody else, and they don't have to do anything. They're basically just a bunch of spoiled children living off their rich parents.
And what's weird about that is, like, to you, to me, and to so many people, we're looking at it and we're like, well, that clearly is not working, right?
Yeah.
But the feminine types, the communists, the socialists, the feminists, they're like, well, the reason it's not working is because of people like you who keep hindering it
Oh,
from, you stop it from working by
the
demanding.
patriarchy.
Yeah, if
There's
you
not
just,
enough women and black people and indigenous there. What?
it was a very good impression.
Thanks. That was my AOC.
Yeah, no,
With less teeth.
with what'd you say? Less teeth?
Yeah, less teeth.
do you have missing teeth? What do you mean?
No, I'm saying I don't have a horse mouth.
Oh, yes. That's actually funny. Yeah. Something's wrong with this diversity of strength stuff. I think needs to go away.
Yeah. Diversity is a phenomenal thing. It's very, very good. We see this in nature. When you're feeding cattle, it is there is a marked difference in the color, the texture, the marbling, and the flavor of beef that has been raised and finished on a diversity of species of grass. So, 4, 5, 6 different types of vegetation, as opposed to single crop where, you don't get as much flavor. You don't get as many nutrients because of the ruminating and everything that goes on inside the cow. And you see it, and you saw it, in the ancient bison, when there were thousands of different species of grass and vegetation and everything, for them to graze from. The quality of meat that you get from that is really good. But diversity just to be different doesn't work if you don't have, there's this concept in small scale gardening called companion planting. And you'll plant like onions and garlic and marigolds and tomatoes all in the same pot, because they all do different things to the soil that all benefit and work together. And that's diversity for the case of advancing the surrounding area. But if you were to just throw, corn and tomatoes and lettuce and like just a bunch of shit into a pot, some things are going to go, some things are going to die, some things aren't going to grow the right way. You're going to have all kinds of different things going wrong in your soil. So diversity just for the sake of diversity is actually detrimental to the surrounding ecosystem. And we see that.
I think it's wrong. Like, if you have a business and you're like, I think not separating the races would be a good idea, right? Like, you have a right to experiment with that. Yeah. What I don't like is when people experiment with me. So if it's like diversity is strength, so we're going to move in all these like people who don't speak the same language as you right next door, and you just have to deal with it. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't think diversity is strength. I think that's the wrong message. I think what happens is, like, in a free market, if you let people kind of gravitate towards their strengths or you only have access what you have access to, right? Steve Jobs, when he started Apple, he had a diverse group of people there because these were the smartest people he had access to. If he lived somewhere else, he would have a different group of people. And the diversity should just be a consequence of circumstance, not something that you impose. And if you are imposing it, that should be your experiment and your risk, because if it fails, you'll take that on. I will say I am against, and this is one of my controversial views, forced integration. I think was a total mistake. I think it would have been wrong if the government said you have to segregate. I think that's wrong. But that's not what was happening when the civil rights movement started. When they got rid of segregation was not mandated by the government. It was just something the market did. And if you're ever interested,
Right.
look into this Georgia governor. I forget what year, but back when that was happening, his name is the word Lex is coming to my mind. Every time I say Lex, though, I think of Lex Friedman. Racist. He was a Georgia governor.
That's funny.
Lester Maddox.
Lester Maddox. He sounds racist.
Yeah, just by his name.
Yeah.
Long story short, when they told him you can't segregate anymore, he refused to at first, and he had people like rioting at his restaurant. But the funny thing is, what they don't report on is he had people going to the restaurant, both blacks and whites. Even though he was the only restaurant left in his town that was still doing segregation, you'd think like, oh, well, getting rid of segregation, everybody likes that. No, people were still going to his restaurant was doing well from both sides. And long story short, the government came in and basically they forced him to shut down.
Did what it does.
But then he later became governor of Georgia, and he actually broke a record. He had more black people on his staff as governor than any other governor in the entire country. And he said on a talk show, he said, "Yeah, that's because they were the best I could find. I was surprised nobody else took them."
Right. So maybe instead of he was a racist that didn't want white people and black people to sit together, maybe he recognized what the market desired and pivoted accordingly.
Yeah. And if you didn't and what was so cool about it, in my mind, if they just let him keep his restaurant, is if you didn't want to go to a segregated restaurant, well, there were plenty of non-segregated restaurants all around Georgia now.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know, I think that you absolutely, I'm not an absolutist about a lot of things. I'm not even an absolutist about that. But I am a First Amendment absolutist, that you can think, say, and believe anything that you want. As long as you're not harming people, you're not causing harm to people, you're not hurting anybody, and you deciding that you want some people over here and some people over there doesn't physically, mentally, or financially hurt anybody. It might emotionally hurt your fifis,
right?
But it's not actual harm. And so, especially if that is what the market wants.
Yeah, and I would agree that the government can't do, like, if your government is supposed to represent the state of Georgia, the governor of Georgia has to be impartial, right?
That's right. But me as a private business, in my clothing store, and if I have drinking fountains on the outside of my store, if I have bathrooms, if I have phones, if I am a restaurant, if I'm a private entity of any kind, if that means anything, private entity, then I should be able to operate how I see fit.
Right. And it's funny because I speak to Christians who would be against Christian nationalism, but they would not be against forced integration, and they would say, like, well, as a Christian, and this is fine. I think this is a fine argument to make. A Christian business owner should not have black and white water fountains. I think that's a fine argument to make. Okay?
Sure.
I haven't thought about it enough. I could probably argue against it, but I don't have a conviction on that, right? But I would still argue that the Christian restaurant owner should have the right to do that, even if he ultimately shouldn't do it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because
the choice to do it, because God has given us the choice.
To force him to segregate, I think there's something wicked about that. But it's interesting because, I argue in my own head. I could hear the guy saying, "But John, you said earlier you're a Christian nationalism. We should impose Christian morals on people." I just don't. I think that was a freedom of association issue, not a.
That's right, and it's not little voice in John's head. It's not that we should impose those. What we desire is for America, for Russia, for Japan, for China, for the UK, for them to choose to operate under these characteristics of a Christian nation. What we would desire is for people to understand that, like you said earlier, John, every law is moral because it has to come from somewhere. Every rule has morality because it's either do or do not. It's not, there is no other option. So it's either right or it's wrong. And so what we would desire, and what America has been structured and built upon, is that everyone operate in such a way that would bring them the most intrinsic and societal value, while giving them an opportunity to be the most successful. And what we can see from empirical and historical data is that the Bible has the most effective advice for emotional well-being, marital well-being, physical well-being, financial well-being. And so that is why America and our founding fathers took information from that book, that group of books, and used it to form the greatest country ever created on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
But we want people to choose it because,
yeah,
I mean, it sounds arrogant, because it's right.
right.
But it just is.
It is. But I will say there is a distinction, and I've heard it put like this: in a Christian nation, all crimes would be sins, hopefully, right? Like it'd be weird if like it was a crime to share your food with your neighbor or something, right? Like,
okay.
And actually, I bet you that is a crime somewhere. There's probably some weird regulation or whatever.
I believe that.
But not all sins are crimes, right? So it's not.
Yes.
So the question with the segregation one would be, does that actually fall under crime? I don't think so, because I think in a free market, you should be able to strategize how you see fit and say, yeah, we don't serve gay people, for example. Now, by the way,
right.
That baker actually did serve gay people. He just wouldn't make a gay cake. So he was being impartial with who he would serve.
He just wouldn't make a custom. And he even told them, you can have any cake here, but I'm not going to customize it. That's all and that's all he did, was not make a custom one.
But I would support if he just said, I'm not going to serve. Like, if I happen to know you're gay, I'm just not going to serve you, period. Like, I'm not going to say that that's necessarily the right idea, but I can imagine circumstances where maybe that is. For example, if you are being attacked on the regular by a certain community, not all of them, but disproportionately that community, then I think it's a perfectly valid strategy to say, okay, for the time being, I'm not serving anybody in that community until we figure out what the hell's going on. And Trump got in trouble for this because he shut down immigration from countries that are, it wasn't a Muslim ban. It was like countries that are yelling death to America ban, which happen to be Muslim countries.
Right.
And obviously not every person in Iran wants to hurt America or whatever.
And not even every Muslim wants to outright hurt America.
Yeah.
Sure.
But if you have enough of an issue like that, you just got to shut the valve off. And I think we're seeing that now. I mean, a lot of people are talking about this again because of the Chud the Builder thing. If you've been following Chud at all.
Yeah,
I've only seen him in passing before the shooting. Like, I've seen him before, but I didn't really pay attention to him. But I think, man, I don't know what's going to happen with that court case, but if he gets convicted and it's not like, if it's clearly self-defense from the general public's eyes, but he still gets convicted, I think it's going to get hairy.
Yep. It's these little, baby steps that they take, infringing on these rights that have turned a lot of this country into something that our founding fathers would never even recognize.
Yeah, no, it's why they gave us the Second Amendment.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it, John. Well, John, man, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I've really enjoyed getting to know you, man.
I enjoyed it too.
Do you want to? I'll let you close it out.
Yeah, let me, not that there are a lot of people tuned in right now, but hey, I'll send it around. I'm trying to figure out how to turn that banner thing back on so that people could see it. Nope. Yeah, I'll close it out. First, I'll just say thanks, Budge, for doing this. I think our mutual friend Jeff, he put it out there, and you were like, "I'll do it."
I love doing it, man. I jumped on it right away.
Yeah, and I appreciate people like that. You ever see that movie Yes Man?
Oh yeah. Oh dude, absolutely. I love that movie so much.
Dude,
It's so hilarious. People don't get it.
Like
So funny.
he shared that out, and then you're like, "I'll do it." I'm like, this is. It just felt like that movie. Like you just had to say yes.
Jim
to it.
Carrey. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost imagine you not even wanting to. You were just like, "Oh man, it's in my feet. I have to say yes."
No.
So I really appreciate
Not
you
at
doing
all.
it. I'd like to do more of these kinds of things. Actually, I'll reach out to you. You said you talk to creators and try to help them get started or
Yep.
whatever. I do want to do more podcasts and stuff. The easy thing for me is talking to other people. I cannot for the life of me talk to a camera. It just feels so strange and so
Yep.
I feel like a crazy person. So
Absolutely.
maybe you can help
Dude,
me
I
figure out
totally get it.
how to get through that.
I'm gonna have to I think I'm actually gonna go back and find all of the videos I did back in 2020, 2021. It's when everybody was locked down, and we were all stuck in our houses, right? And we weren't really super locked down necessarily. Like we could go outside and stuff where we were in Georgia at the time. But there wasn't a ton of stuff open. Events weren't really happening. If you could go somewhere, then you had to have a mask on. So we spent a lot of time at home. And I spent a lot of time hanging out in my basement doing creative things. And that's where I really learned to talk to the camera. I would sit for 6 or 7 hours a day in front of my camera and just record over and over and over and over and over again. And then I would edit that entire video, take out all the stops and uhs and ums and things. And after 7 hours of film, I got about 12 minutes of good content. And after watching myself so much, I hate listening to myself. I hate watching myself. But
It's
after
hard,
doing that and like really, I learned how to treat the camera like a person and really and talk to them as though I'm actually interacting with another human being. So it's definitely a skill. I think some people, they are just gifted with it. People like Gary Vee, just a gift that he just turned on the camera and he was immediately exactly who he is still today. I think that's a gift, but for most people, it's a skill that you have to build, and it's just like any other muscle. If you want to get some nice traps, do a bunch of push-ups, lots of push-ups.
If you want to get better
Nice
in front
abs.
of camera, talk in front of a camera.
You got to, man, and you don't have to record it. You don't have to do anything. Just sit in your room by yourself and just talk to the camera. Like it's the person inside your head.
It's like weird to me. I just feel like
it's weird. I know.
And
there's nobody in this building, John. Not a single soul is in this house. Just me yelling at myself.
People have been doing it forever. I mean, radio jockeys do it, but at least them, you almost. When I listen to the radio, I almost imagine there's like this glass window and there's people watching and listening in.
Exactly. Use that same imaginational muscle to imagine the people listening to you when you're talking to them.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I want to do this more. But again, thanks. And I will just say, anybody listening, please join menofhunger.com. And you can use John. If you ever do sign up for premium, you'll get a month for free. If you sign people up, you can get as many months as you want for free. That's just going to be indefinite, because I think in general with these communities, it's good to get people to get their people in, right? I don't want to just like blast out an advertisement on X and get a bunch of randos who don't know each other. Remember, diversity is not strength. No. But anyway, thanks, Pudge, and hopefully we'll do something again soon.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.